you, everybody, for coming to the College Football Betting with Aaron Torres YouTube channel. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead, click that subscribe button. It helps our channel grow. It helps our audience grow. I appreciate it more than you know, as we're talking college football on this channel year-round. Appreciate your support. Click that subscribe button. Wildcats, Ole Miss hosting Kentucky. That is right. SEC opener. How about this? Just a weird scheduling quirk. SEC opener for Ole Miss. This is Kentucky's third SEC game. Now, it's their first one on the road. Point spread, Ole Miss is a 17.5 point favorite. The over-under is set at 52.5. But first off, let's just call it out as it is. America, we have made it. We are finally going to see Ole Miss against a team with a pulse, because through 4 games, I don't think there is a single team that has faced less real competition than the Ole Miss Rebels. 76-0 win over Furman, 52-3 win over Middle Tennessee, 40-6 win over Wake Forest, and then last week was the close one, 52-13 against Georgia Southern. You know you're doing good, even if it's against inferior competition, when you have the number 1 ranked scoring offense in college football and the number 1 ranked scoring defense in college football, which is exactly what Ole Miss has. And I will say, I think that's kind of worth noting going into this game, is we spend so much time talking about that offense, and it's good. But when you are in a situation where you are through 4 games, a quarter of your season, I don't care how bad the competition is, and you've given up a total of 22 points. How about this? They have not given up a first half touchdown all of this year. I know the schedule hasn't been great, but let's credit Lane Kiffin. They prioritized defensive guys in the portal this offseason. And early on, hard to know based on the competition, but that defense is playing at a much higher level than it ever has. The offense obviously speaks for itself. You don't need me to break down Jackson Dart, who's completing 79.8% of his passes, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So that is Ole Miss. Again, we don't need to spend much time talking about this team based on what they've done so far. But at the same time, do want to talk about Kentucky, because, listen, there's a couple things that are true about Kentucky. It wasn't pretty a few weeks ago against South Carolina. On top of that, it's worth noting that you lost that game to Georgia, which we have been over time and time again. I'll leave it up to Kentucky fans to debate, should you have punted, should you have not. But there's a couple things. One, you are coming off a win against Ohio. I think even in the Ohio game, there was a little frustration. I think fans probably wanted Mark Stoops to probably throw the ball a little bit earlier, kind of get Brock Vandagriff into a rhythm as you get deeper into SEC play. But to their credit, they did finish that game with almost 500 yards of total offense, and the defense is still really good. And to me, that is the part that I do think is probably a little bit under-discussed with Kentucky, is it was so bad against South Carolina. The punt decision was such a topic. I don't think people realize this Kentucky defense is for real, okay? South Carolina won in convincing fashion. Kentucky's defense gave up gave up exactly 252 yards of total offense, so right around 250 yards, okay? How about against Georgia? Against Georgia, they gave up 262 yards. So in 2 SEC games, they have not given up more than 262 yards in a game. That defense is good, and even Lane Kiffin. We know Lane Kiffin, when he's got an opinion on something, he ain't afraid to say it. Well, he said earlier this week, he was talking about this Kentucky defense. He said they got NFL dudes everywhere, size, length, speed, etc. They look like an SEC team on defense. So Lane Kiffin isn't underselling this opponent. I don't think Kentucky should be undersold, even though they're 2-2 coming into this game. And I'll be blunt, I do actually have a pick for this game, and it's the under 52.5. Now, I know what you're thinking. Torres, first of all, another under in the SEC. What do you want from me? I think the numbers are too high, especially in the helmet comms era. But here's the crazy part. This has been one of my favorite betting trends through the years. Mark Stoops, Kentucky, SEC road game unders, okay? Do you know, dating back to the 2020 season, so take out the COVID year, Kentucky has played 8 road games in the SEC the last 2 years post-COVID. Of those 8 games, 6 of them have gone under this 52.5 number. The only ones that haven't are Georgia last year. So you're playing the number 1 team on the road. That went over 52.5. They destroyed you. The other one was Vanderbilt last year in a game where Kentucky had 2 pick sixes to give them 45 points in a game. So you basically take out playing the worst team in America or the worst team in the SEC or the best team in the SEC on the road. Kentucky plays things close to the vest. They keep things low scoring. And I really just think this is a game that feels like it is going to be more low scoring than people think. Couple thoughts here. First off, the Ole Miss defense is really good. We know how good the Kentucky defense is. Kentucky, Mark Stoops is going to play it close to the vest. The other thing, think this is worth noting. We got an 11 a.m. kickoff in Oxford. And Oxford has notoriously, there's a lot of fans that are still in the parking lot for kickoff for 11 a.m. kickoff or 11 a.m. local time kickoffs in this stadium. It's true. Lane Kiffin has called out his own fan base about it. By the way, speaking of Lane Kiffin, I feel like he's had a lot of opinions other than this game itself throughout the week. Called out Hugh Freeze earlier in the week about some of the quarterback stuff. Called out Hugh Freeze later in the week about his collective and stealing assistant coaches and blah, 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 blah. So this kind of feels like one of those Lane Kiffin games where maybe he's a little distracted going in. I think that Kentucky's going to play things close to the vest. I can't sit here and say that Kentucky wins this game. I do think they slow down that Ole Miss offense. I think the Ole Miss defense does its part. And I would guess Ole Miss wins something in the neighborhood of like 28-7, 28-6, 31-10, something like that. But this is actually one of my favorite plays, that under 52.5. I know it sounds crazy because it's Ole Miss. Just feels like the right side.